Okay, so this is going to be concept 3 and concept 4. We're going to use the same Prezi for both. We're looking at body sentences, transitions, and conclusions. And at the end of tonight's homework, you should know how to expand your body sentences, effectively use transitions, and then we're going to come back and look at closing the door on a paragraph by putting together a well-constructed conclusion. So when we talk about body sentences, one thing we need to think about is that they really tell the reader more about the topic. So one way to expand your paragraph is to tell more details. So basically, once you've identified what your main ideas are going to be, hopefully you have 2 to 3 per paragraph, you're going to start thinking about other sentences that will expand on those ideas. They should provide the reader with a lot of detail, and it really is impossible to produce a piece of proficient writing without using these types of tell me more sentences and detail. It helps the reader visualize and see a picture in their head. So what we're going to do is watch a short video on how to be descriptive. In your notes, please write down at least 3 things that this other teacher mentions for writing more descriptively.
Here's my goal, to offer you a quick and concrete explanation as to how you can add more descriptive language to your writing. Now, you've heard this phrase before, show, don't tell, but it can be very abstract. I want to break it down into concrete terms so that you know what that means. Here's an example of writing that does a lot of telling. It's not very exciting. Surfing is fun and exciting. I like it a lot. It is such a unique experience. I read descriptive writing like this and I'm not very happy because there isn't much description. There's too much telling or literal language stating exactly what the writer means. There's no imagery attached. In other words, where's the picture? Also, verb choice is probably the single most important aspect of descriptive language, and when you have to be verbs, am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, those should be red flags that you've got literal language and a chance to add more description. Think about your modifiers as well. Your adjectives and adverbs. These should be used sparingly in descriptive writing, and when used, they should be interesting, fun, exciting, and unique, or rather tired, overused, and again, don't have much imagery. Finally, consider the nouns. Good, concrete, specific nouns are needed, and in this case, we have surfing and experience as the most concrete, but the rest are rather general, vague pronouns. So, this writing is not very interesting. How do we improve it, though? I'll show you. Now this next example I find more interesting because it does a better job of showing versus telling. I popped out of the salty foam, my feet planted to the sticky board. My head felt like it would split apart, my smile was so big. I whooped. Now in this case, I'm describing surfing in a way that shows the reader the experience as opposed to tells him or her the experience in a literal way. Now I do have a to be verb, and so I do have some literal language. My smile was so big, but that's not a bad thing. It's actually a blend of literal and descriptive language that makes for good writing. Now, remember the verb choice is the most important. Consider these: popped, planted, split, and whooped. All of these are juicy, vivid verbs because they have imagery attached. There's sight imagery, sound imagery, and even touch that are associated with those verbs, and that carries the notion of description. Also, when I use modifiers, adjectives, and adverbs, I'm going to do that sparingly, but I want them to have impact. Salty and sticky are much more unexpected and therefore more effective. Finally, considering my nouns, I want to use concrete, specific nouns and again have imagery associated with those. Foam, feet, board, and smile are more concrete. And so overall, this writing is much more interesting than my first example. In the last example, I'm going to show you how to add even more description. This last description of surfing makes me happiest because it's the most vivid and unique. I popped up, my feet gripping the tacky board. A grin wider than the horizon splashed across my face. A wild power from the ocean and from within me foamed up as I let out a long and loony whoop. Any English teacher in the world would say that this is showing, not telling. But again, why is that? It has to do with my verb choice. Popped, gripping, splashed, and foamed all have imagery attached, and a variety of imagery at that. Also, the grin is splashing across my face like water, and the sense of enjoyment is foaming up from within me as a wave rises from the ocean. I'm purposefully trying to add my own figurative language through my verb choice. Again, I'm looking at modifiers. Tacky, wild, long, and loony are unexpected and have a variety of imagery attached, not just sight images, but sound and touch as well. My nouns are concrete and specific and plentiful. Feet, board, grin, horizon, power, ocean, whoop. And I'm adding even more figurative language. The grin, I want to show how big that is. I compare it to the horizon. And my sense of enjoyment, that wild power, is rising from within me as the waves rise from the ocean. All of these come together then to take something that's very telling and literal and boring and making it much more interesting for the reader. If you focus on your verbs, consider your adjectives and adverbs. Think about the nouns that you choose and try to add some of your own figurative language. You're taking writing and making it more descriptive, or you're showing and not telling. And that will make any English teacher in the world very happy. And more importantly, any reader more interested in what you have to write.
So in your notes, use the red marker and highlighter function on your iPad and go through the provided paragraph that I've given you. And I want you to highlight the main ideas that you see and then underline the sentences that expand on that main idea in red. So the paragraph goes as follows. And remember, you're highlighting main ideas, underlining the details in red. Though there are many special people in my life, my mother is my favorite. One reason I love her is that she spoils me rotten. I can always talk her into cooking my favorite tacos with mounds of shredded cheese. Mom also teaches me things that help me succeed in life. She reminds me to be polite, kind to others, and to keep a smile on my face. Another reason my mom is great is that she is so nice to my friends. All the kids in our neighborhood love to hang out at my house. My mom talks to them and treats them special. She makes cookies, drives us places we need to go, and offers advice when asked. No doubt about it, my mom is the best. So go ahead and pause the video and go back to the paragraph, and again, highlight the main ideas and underline the sentences that expand on that main idea in red, and then come back to the video. All right, let's check our work. Okay, so in the paragraph, we notice that the main ideas are that she spoils me rotten, teaches me things to help me succeed, and is nice to my friends. And then everything in red are the pieces that expand on those main ideas. So go ahead and double check. If you didn't get it right, go back and fix it. Rewind if you need to go over it again. But now I'm moving on to try and save us time on our homework. Yay. Okay. So moving to transitions. So transitions, I know over the last couple of years, your 7th grade teachers have been working really hard with you to use transitions more effectively. So I'm not too worried or concerned about transitions. But basically the idea is that it should bridge between one big idea and the next, and it should be an easier way to follow or move from one thing to the next. They should be effective, natural sounding, and never distracting to the reader. And also, avoid using first, second, and third. Look for alternatives to these. When you're first learning transitions in elementary school, perhaps, this is a great option. But now, in middle school and beyond, you need to find a different way to say this. So instead of writing a paragraph saying, I love my mom, the first reason I love her is this. The second reason I love her is this. And finally, the third reason is this. It's just too elementary. You need to move beyond it. So my expectations, move beyond first, second, and third if you want to get a C. Use a variety of simple transitions, and I will be giving you a transition word list to help with that. As far as mastery is concerned, a wider variety of transitions, and begin to rearrange those by moving them away from the front of the sentence. They don't always have to be there. And then as far as expert, thoughtfully consider deleting a transition or two. Often the paragraph is going to sound smoother without that first transition. Again, I will give you a list to help if you get stuck. So I have a paragraph here that I'd like for us to go over, and in your notes all I want you to do is write down a word that you see repeated over and over again that actually acts like a transition word. So taking a look past the transition word list that I might give you and look at how just a simple word, one word, if repeated, can act as a transition word. So here is your paragraph. Look for the repeated word. President of the United States has several important responsibilities. A big responsibility is being Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Marines, soldiers, and sailors always salute their leader. The President has the responsibility to nominate Supreme Court justices when there is a vacancy. The Senate must confirm his appointments. Representing your country in official capacities overseas is a huge responsibility. The President and his wife often travel to other countries on important business. Our chief executive wears many hats and must be responsible for all of them. So again, go back through that paragraph and look for the one word that's repeated in almost every sentence that acts as a transition word, just to get an idea of different ways that you can use words for transitions. Now, what not to do. It's really important to explain your main ideas, but sometimes you can explain those in a way that's too simple, boring, vague, even repetitive. Here's an example. My favorite treat is ice cream. I like to eat it for dessert. It's really good. Sometimes in the summer, my dad takes me to Dairy Queen. The ice cream there is really good. When the ice cream truck comes down our street, I like to buy ice cream. It's really, really good. Ice cream makes a great snack anytime. Now, this is an okay paragraph. It has everything that I need. A topic sentence, body sentences, and a conclusion, but it's boring. You're repeating the word really good a lot. You're not being very descriptive. Did I ever tell you why I like ice cream, or what my favorite type of ice cream is, etc. I didn't expand on any of the main ideas. So instead, elaborate by thinking about being interesting, different, unusual, not obvious. Try to write it within your own voice and adding your own description. Oftentimes, the difference between proficient and higher quality piece of writing is the details in these tell me more body sentences. So here's the exact same topic, but bumped up with some better descriptive sentences. When I think back on special treats, I think of ice cream. I grew up in a family where ice cream was a frequent dessert. It was most often served in a dish, but on special occasions, my mom bought sugar cones at the corner drugstore. On family holidays, we'd have pie or cake a la mode. I also have special memories of summer evening trips to the Dairy Queen in our town. Sometimes a long bike ride with my dad led to a chocolate-dipped soft-serve cone. I remember celebrating hard-fought softball victories with a stop at DQ with my teammates. The jingling of the ice cream truck also brings back memories that make me smile. I met my best friend playing at a summer playground, where we'd often enjoy a treat from the neighborhood ice cream man, who stopped by each afternoon. It's a sound that still causes me to smile and look out the front door on a lazy summer day. I have precious memories of this special treat, ice cream. So hopefully you can notice how those tell me more sentences add ideas and voice to the writing. You know a little bit more about me because of that paragraph. All right, that's going to be the end for this first part 1, body sentences and transitions. We'll come back to the exact same Prezi tomorrow and look at conclusions. Thanks, guys.